I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. For months, my life revolved around this one day, my wedding, the day I was supposed to marry the love of my life, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone else. The morning started like something out of a dream. Friends were buzzing around, family members were laughing, and the venue looked perfect. I was nervous but excited. After all, this was the moment every guy dreams of, right? To marry the person you believe is your soulmate. But then my phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it. Who texts the groom minutes before the ceremony anyway? Probably some buddy making a last-minute joke to calm my nerves. But something in me said I should look. And when I opened the message, my entire world stopped. It was from an unknown number, and attached to the text were screenshots. Screenshots of my bride, the woman I was about to marry, in conversations that no man should ever have to see about the person he loves. Messages with another guy. Explicit, flirty, detailed plans about what they did last weekend and how she couldn't wait to do it again. The words burned into my brain. Don't worry, he'll never find out. After tonight, we'll have more time together once the wedding craziness is over. My chest tightened. My hands started shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I remember staring at the screen, the voices of my groomsmen fading out, the laughter in the hallway turning into distant noise. I read it again and again, hoping, praying that maybe it was some twisted prank. But then came the photos. Her with him in places I recognized. And just like that, the happiest day of my life turned into the darkest. I can't explain the mix of emotions that hit me in those few minutes. Anger, betrayal, nausea, but most of all, this surreal calm, like I was outside my own body, watching my life collapse in real time. My best man noticed my face had gone pale. Dude, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I didn't even answer. I just handed him the phone. He scrolled through the screenshots, his jaw tightening. Then he looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. Half pity, half fury. Bro, what are you gonna do? That question hit me like a sledgehammer. What was I going to do? Walk down the aisle like nothing happened? Stand there and promise forever to someone who had already broken every vow before we even said them out loud? Part of me wanted to confront her right then, to storm into her dressing room, shove the phone in her face and scream, "How could you do this to me?" But another part of me, the colder, calmer part, wanted her betrayal to be exposed in front of everyone. Her parents, my parents, our friends, every single person who thought this day was about love and honesty. That's when the plan started forming. I remember turning to my best man and saying, "No, I'm not going to ruin this before it starts. I'm going to ruin it when it matters most." He blinked. "You mean?" I nodded. "At the altar. Because if she wanted to humiliate me behind my back, I was going to return the favor. Except I wasn't going to do it in secret. I was going to do it in the most public way possible, on the very stage where she thought she'd tie me to her for life." I slipped the phone back into my pocket, straightened my tie, and told my groomsmen, "Let's go. We've got a wedding to attend." And with that, I walked down that aisle not as a groom, but as a man preparing the most unforgettable revenge of his life. The music started. Everyone stood. My bride, the woman I thought I'd spend forever with, walked down the aisle in her white dress, smiling like nothing in the world could touch her. If I didn't know the truth, I would have thought she was the picture of innocence. But every step she took toward me felt like a dagger twisting deeper. She reached me, took my hand, and whispered, "You look so handsome." I forced a smile. "So do you." My voice didn't even crack. Inside, though, my heart was screaming. The ceremony went as planned, the priest reciting the words, the guests smiling through tears, cameras flashing. But my mind was locked on one thing, the phone in my pocket. And then it came, the moment. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. The room went silent. For a second, I thought no one would say a word, but then I raised my hand. Gasps, whispers. My bride's face froze. "I do," I said loudly, my voice echoing through the hall. The priest stammered, son, are you sure?" I pulled the phone from my pocket, unlocked it, and held it up. "I just received a message this morning. Proof that the woman standing in front of me, the woman I thought I could trust, has been cheating on me." You could hear a pin drop. Her eyes widened, her lips trembling as she whispered, "Jason, please don't."
But I didn't stop. I read the texts out loud, every disgusting detail, the pet names, the plans, the betrayals. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Her parents looked like they'd been slapped. My parents stared in horror. I turned back to her, my voice steady. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed everyone who came here believing in this love. I won't marry a liar. I won't marry a cheater." And then I took off the ring, set it gently on the altar, and stepped back. The room erupted. Some guests rushed to me, some to her. She collapsed lapsed into tears, trying to explain, but nobody wanted to listen, not after hearing the truth with their own ears. I walked out of that church that day, not as a broken man, but as someone who refused to be chained to betrayal. When I walked out of that church, I expected silence, maybe whispers behind my back. What I didn't expect was the storm that followed. Guests were split in two camps, half glaring at her, half just stunned into disbelief. Some of my friends actually clapped when I left, like I had just escaped a burning building. Her parents, they looked devastated. Her mom ran to me, crying, begging me to reconsider. "Jason, please, she made a mistake. Don't do this in front of everyone." I shook my head. This isn't just a mistake. It's a choice she made again and again, and she almost dragged me into it for life. I deserve better. Her father didn't say a word, just turned his face away, shame written all over it. Meanwhile, my ex-fiancée was sobbing uncontrollably at the altar, mascara streaking down her cheeks, begging me not to humiliate her further. But it was too late. Everyone had seen the truth. By the evening, the story had spread like wildfire. Guests couldn't keep quiet. Screenshots were passed around. A cousin uploaded part of my speech online, and within days, people were commenting things like, "You dodged a bullet, man. This is the strongest thing I've ever seen someone do at a wedding. Respect. You saved yourself." My ex, she tried calling me nonstop for weeks, left voicemails crying, apologizing, even blaming her loneliness for what she did. At one point, she even showed up at my apartment, begging for another chance to, but every time I looked at her, I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw the person who was willing to throw away everything real for cheap thrills. The hardest part wasn't walking away from her. The hardest part was facing the fact that my dream of a future together had been a lie all along. But with every day that passed, the pain turned into relief. Relief that I had found out before I signed my life away. Relief that I didn't let betrayal define me. And that night, lying in bed alone, I realized something. Sometimes the best I do is saying, I don't. In the days after the wedding that never was, I replayed everything in my head like a broken movie reel. The late night talks, the shared dreams, the promises we whispered about forever. I kept asking myself, how could she throw it all away? But then something clicked. The truth is, her betrayal wasn't about me. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It wasn't because I lacked something. It was because of her choices, her emptiness, her inability to value what she had. And that's the thing about betrayal. It often says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. For a while, I hated her. I hated the wasted time, the lies, the humiliation in front of family and friends. But slowly, that hatred shifted. It turned into gratitude. Because if I had walked down that aisle blind, I would have been tied to a life built on lies. I would have given my vows, my loyalty, my future to someone who didn't deserve them. Instead, I was given a brutal, painful gift, the truth. And here's the lesson I walked away with. Sometimes life rips the mask off people right before your eyes, and it hurts like hell, but it saves your soul. I learned to trust actions over words, to never ignore red flags, and most importantly, to never settle for a love that doesn't honor me. If you've ever been betrayed, you know the pain feels unbearable, but you also know this: walking away, no matter how hard, is the strongest thing you'll ever do for yourself. Because in the end, love isn't about fancy weddings or Instagram perfect moments. Love is about respect, about trust, about choosing each other every single day. And if someone can't do that, then the bravest thing you can ever say is goodbye.